Today we're making one of the most iconic dishes in the overly extensive but not expensive Indian cuisine, biryani, India's version of chicken and rice. And this version found only here. Apart from dessert, Indian food starts with onion, whether you like it or not. We start by indiscriminately, finely-ish chopping one large onion. Once that's prepped, let it hang out on the side and cover it to minimize tears. Next you slice 1.5 onions very thinly. Not too thin, not too thick. We're going to fry this until deep golden brown. One of the most important and unique parts of making biryani. If you're lazy, then just buy crispy shallots and toast them in the oven until golden brown. But making this yourself is obviously much better and you'll have a flavorful onion oil to cook with. Your choice though. Once that's done, you heat a fryer or pan with plenty of neutral oil or chicken fat. If you want to make it vegan, fry the onions on medium heat, moving them around continuously. You fry them until they are dark brown but not black. Drain on paper towel and try not to eat too many of them. They are crispy now, but they'll soften in the biryani and deeply flavor the dish. We'll use basmati rice as our rice of choice. Traditional, and you have to be extra skilled to mess it up. Wash it all well, changing the water often. Once clear, cover with fresh water and let it soak for 30 minutes. Before we get to the all-important chicken and gravy part, we make a simple and quick flatbread dough for two good reasons. Firstly, biryani is classically cooked using a method called dum cooking without the bee, meaning cooked in its own steam sealed in a clay pot. I will show you the easy alternative, so relax and let your worries slide away. For the dough, we mix 350 grams or 3 cups regular flour, with 3 grams or half a teaspoon of salt, 250 milliliters or 1 cup of water, and 15 grams or 1 tablespoon of oil or ghee. Ghee is just clarified butter. Work it into a dough, then cover with a damp cloth to keep Greta from pesting you in your sleep. I personally like cooking biryani with bone-on chicken, thighs or drumsticks. However, you can use boneless thighs if you like. Breast will most likely end up dry, so avoid that. We prepared this biryani a bit differently to the classic Hyderabad version, which calls for this chicken to be marinated in yogurt or yogurt, depending on where you come from, and spices before cooking. Clever, but for it to work you need to wait at least 24 hours to get the true benefit. Store-bought pre-cut chicken is tender enough, so we'll skip all that hassle. Heat a pan with ghee or a touch of oil. Remember, ghee is just clarified butter, the fat of choice in Indian cooking. Sear the chicken until nice and golden brown. A little western touch that makes a big improvement in flavor. Once the chicken is browned, you set it aside for a minute. We need a few spices, naturally, plus a few other goodies for the gravy. So let's chat about that, all of which we can find online or in most supermarkets. I'll tell you what to do in a sec if you can't find the spices or don't want to buy a load you're only going to use once. Here we have 20 grams or 4 tablespoons of garam masala, which is a famous Indian spice blend used extensively. You use an extra tablespoon of this if you don't want to buy the individual spices. Et voila! 6 to 10 green cardamom pods. I have a big love for these, so I use a load of them. A cinnamon stick or 2, depending on size. 4 to 6 dried bay leaves. 1 gram or half a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds, which are rarely used but they give a nice flavor to the end result. 2 to 3 blades of mace. Mace are simply the leaves that cover nutmeg. It has the same but different flavor, so use either. 2 grams or 1 teaspoon of Kashmiri chili powder. 75 grams or 5 tablespoons of garlic and ginger paste, which is just garlic and ginger 50-50 blended until you have a puree. 200 grams chopped tinned or fresh tomatoes. Tomatoes are widely used in southern Indian Kerala biryani, but not in Hyderabad biryani. Either way, it's good for the gravy, so we use it. While we're at it, 25 grams or 1.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. 30 grams or 2 tablespoons ghee or oil from frying the onions work great here. Last but not least, 250 grams or 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt. I'll show you a couple of special tricks how to use this so it doesn't split when cooking with it. Let's move on to frying the chopped onions in the pond, meaning the brown bits stuck in the pan from frying the chicken. It has a universe of flavor, so don't lose it. Add a touch of oil or ghee or both to help it along. Do not salt it yet as we want the onions to brown. Once the onions have softened, you add the whole spices only and fry it for a few minutes with the onions to release their flavor. Once the onions turn nice and brown, you add the ginger and garlic paste. Cook it out real well until the raw fragrance is gone and it smells exceptionally goody. Add the tomato paste and cook for 1 minute more before adding the garam masala and chili powder. Follow up with the chopped tomatoes and let it simmer for a few minutes. Add a touch of water or chicken stock if you see it getting a little bit too pasty. Season it now with salt and a touch of sugar to balance the tartness of the tomatoes. Remove it from the heat for now while we deal with the yogurt. Place the yogurt in a bowl. It has to be full fat, usually 6% and above. To stabilize it, you add 2 tablespoons of double cream and a teaspoon of cornstarch. Whisk it really well until homogeneous. If you don't do this, it'll split and look somewhat messed up. Once the base is cooled down a touch, we add the yogurt bit by bit. Another tip to keep it from splitting: don't just dump the yogurt from the container into the pan. I did this many years ago and my ego still hurts. If you don't want to use yogurt, then use a touch of cream instead, but you will lose that authentic, tangy taste the yogurt gives. Once it's all in and looking good, you add the seared chicken back into the gravy. Slowly simmer it until the chicken has cooked through. You'll see some fat rising through the gravy to the top, which is normal and full of flavor. Just stir it back in and make sure it doesn't boil fast or burn. Turn your oven to 230 degrees Celsius or 446 degrees Fahrenheit. Before we can layer our biryani, we need a very important flavor part: the saffron sauce. Biryani is a simple dish of chicken and rice, but it's also a celebratory dish. Into a pan goes 120 grams or half a cup of double cream, 60 grams or 3 tablespoons of butter, and 3 large pinches of saffron strands. Give that a good 3 to 5 minute steady simmer until beautifully golden and the saffron has fully bloomed, giving us just enough time to pre-cook the rice. For this, we make a little flavored liquid, not much different to a stock. In fact, we start with 600 grams or 2.5 cups of chicken stock or water. In goes 6 grams or 1 teaspoon of salt, 6 cardamom pods, 3 star anise, spelled with an I and an E, 5 cloves, 4 to 5 bay leaves, a few mace blades, half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, and a fat spoon of ghee or butter. If you don't want to go through this highly recommended bit of effort, simply use salted water and butter at least. Bring that all to a boil and let it infuse for a few minutes before adding your soaked rice. Give it a stir and boil for 2 to 3 minutes. We need to pre-cook the rice so it finishes cooking in the pot. Drain the rice and keep the liquid. The rice is done when you can break it between your fingers, but it still has a little bit of raw rice in the middle. The leftover liquid is delicious when used in soups or other curries. It's even great just as is. We've almost reached the top of the mountain, so there's no turning back. By now, you should have warm cooked chicken in gravy, warm pre-cooked rice, a golden creamy sauce, and crispy deep brown onions at a minimum. Try and multitask this when making it so it all comes together while still warm. We have option 1 as a traditional clay pot, which you can seal with a piece of foil if you don't want to make the dough. Or option 2, which is simply a large enough saucepan or pot sealed with foil and a lid. Before we layer it, we slice a few green chilies, if you like it hot. If you don't, you skip it. We also have some fresh mint and cilantro. Start with a thin layer of saffron sauce, followed by a layer of rice. Chilies, if using, fresh herbs indiscriminately torn and randomly scattered. Crispy onions, a couple of pieces of chicken and a touch of gravy. Don't go too heavy on the gravy as we don't want too much moisture in there. Repeat with rice and add saffron sauce, chilies, herbs, onions, chicken and gravy. Then repeat the final time with rice, chili, herbs, saffron and crispy onions. Now you can seal this in foil, but if you remember, we made a nice little dough. Roll it out so it closes the loop comfortably. You'll have some left over because the dough also makes delicious flatbreads. Seal the lid tightly, then bake it in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. While that's done cooking, we make our flatbread. Roll the dough into balls, then flatten out and roll it into very thin round sheets on a well-floured surface. Heat a skillet or pan on high, then dry roast the flatbread in the skillet. Press it down gently with a slight damp cloth, so it puffs up, making it light and flaky. Cook both sides until nice, brown and puffed up. While still warm, brush it with a touch of melted butter or ghee to make sure it stays soft. Once the biryani has cooked, you carefully open the lid, taking care not to steam your fingers in the process. You should now have one of the sexiest, golden yellow chicken and rice dishes on the planet. Let it rest for 5 minutes before dishing up, and optionally but extremely necessary, garnishing with more fresh herbs and crispy onions. Now of course, you can eat it traditionally with your hands if you're lucky enough to have them. Grab a spoon if you're white and pretentious, or alternatively, scoop it up with the flatbread you just made. But most importantly, go and live a happy life.